Hi guys, good evening everyone. So whoever is present here today, first of all, thank you for taking out your time from your schedule and attending this webinar, which is by Team Nexus and is on the topic Efficient UI Design with Storybook, a Developer's Guide. In this webinar, you will learn in depth about the modern UI development that Storybook offers. So, what is Tech Nexus? Tech Nexus is basically an event which is organized by Mind Browser and which is held at end of each month. It's likely a gathering where people interested in technology like us come together to share whatever they have learned about different tech topics, and we discuss new trends and development field, creating an environment for learning and collaboration. So myself, Sahil Punjabi, along with my colleague Anish Patil, will be your presenters for today. So without any further delay, let's get started with the overview of all the points that we'll be covering today. So the table of contents, like we'll quickly go through what it contains. So first we'll go through with the introduction of Storybook, where we'll learn what is Storybook and its benefits and use cases. Storybook, its community and ecosystem. We'll compare Storybook with other component libraries, some core concepts that you need to know when you deep dive into it. Development workflow and demo, some challenges and limitations that you may face when you use that in your major projects. What are the future developments, and last but not the least, some Q&A session, and we'll conclude it with a small quiz. So let's quickly start. What is Storybook? So Storybook is basically a powerful tool that builds helps us developers build, test, and document UI components in isolation. So it basically creates a custom development environment where we can work on one component at a time without any complexities of entire application to run. It is an open source tool and free to use. So the framework supported in Storybook are React, Next.js, Angular, Web Components, Svelte, so and also Vue.js. So basically, these are the major libraries and frameworks currently that it has supported. So what is Storybook? So w- before like explaining why we need to use Storybook, I'll give a problem statement why developers like us, should use it. So recently, there has been an increasing complexity in the web that has pushed, more challenges into the front end part, be it responsive design, devices, browsers, and other requirements which multiplies the UI variations. So while component driven tools like React, Vue, and Angular help us simplifying the UIs, but they aren't foolproof, leading to a rapid increase in the number of components and also variations in mature projects. So at this stage, debugging becomes difficult due to some heavy business logic and app context, and making UIs harder to build and maintain. So as a result of which, existing workflows struggle to manage the growing complexity. So this is the reason why we should include Storybook in our existing projects to make the process much simpler, as I mentioned at the beginning, that we can use it without actually running the application. What are the benefits of Storybook? So the first one is component isolation. So Storybook allows us to develop and test UI components in complete isolation without running the rest of the application. So this means that you can entirely focus on the components functionalities and how they look and how they behave, without worrying about external dependencies or any application specific logic. So the second point is it facilitates design, system creation, and maintenance. So Storybook has proved to be an excellent tool for building and maintaining a design system. So by documenting each UI component as a story, what we call here in Storybook, uh, it helps us in organizing and standardizing the visual and interactive elements across our application. So third is promotes team collaboration. So one of the standout features of Storybook is its ability to serve as a a shared visual reference for the entire team. So designers, be it developers and product managers who are from non-technical background, can all view and interact with the components in a centralized environment. So this enhances typically communication, reduces misunderstandings, and speeds up the development process. The fourth one is reusable components. So with Storybook, you can create a library of reusable components that can be easily integrated and into different parts of your application, or even across multiple projects you can use it. So this reusability not only speeds up the development, but also ensures consistency across different interfaces also. So yes, so the fifth one is visual testing. The storybook supports visual testing. This allows you to catch UI bugs early by comparing snapshots of your components appearances over different period of time. So by integrating visual testing tools like Storybook, you can automatically detect any unintended changes in your components appearance, and it makes it easier to maintain a high quality UI at an application level. So these were the benefits. So next we'll look what is the Storybook community and ecosystem in recent time. So Storybook's power not only just comes from its core features and benefits, but also from the vibrant community nowadays. So Storybook is backed by an active and passionate community of developers recently who contribute to its continuous development. So as it is free and open source, so whether you are a beginner or an expert, the community offers ample support throughout multiple forums, some documentation and tutorials as well. The Storybook ecosystem includes a vast array of add-ons that extends its functionality. So these add-ons allow you to customize Storybook to fit your specific needs, whether it is accessibility testing, responsive design previews, or integration with some design tools like Figma. So like I've already mentioned that it is compatible with multiple frameworks such as React, Vue, Angular, and more like that. And this makes it as a versatile tool that can be adopted by a diverse development teams. So and this cross framework support, uh, ensures that Storybook can be integrated into various projects, regardless of the underlying technology that has been used. So, as an open source project, Storybook benefits from like continuous contributions from developers worldwide. So, this active contribution that Storybook stays up to date with, and also uh, the latest trends that are needed in the front end development. This makes it a robust and reliable tool for UI development. Next, we'll quickly compare. We have prepared a comparison table, like where we have compared Storybook with other existing component libraries. So we'll go through it one by one. So typically, there are several component libraries and tools available for UI development. So, but Storybooks basically stands out due to its unique combination of features and flexibility. So we'll quickly go through the table. We can see that we have multiple uh, uh, UI tools in different columns, and the first column we have the point of comparison. So the first one is purpose. So Storybook is focused on building and testing basically custom components in isolation, of which offers us flexibility and customization. uh, Most of the others are basically single framework based, and design is a React based design system. Semantic UI, it is a framework agnostic UI component library which is designed to be intuitive and human friendly. Blueprint, again, it is a React based UI component library which is geared towards complex data dense applications, I would say. So the last one, Patternfly, it is also enterprise design system and a component library which is largely used in large scale applications. So second point is framework support. So as I said, supports multiple frameworks like React, Vue, Angular, and more, whereas others like and Design, Semantic UI, Blueprint, and Printify have only specific framework support like React, and Semantic UI has uh, framework agnostic, which is compatible with any HTML, CSS, JS project. Component isolation. Yes, Storybook supports full component isolation, allowing components to be developed and tested independently without the rest of the application, whereas the others do not have any support for component isolation. So the next is add-on ecosystem. In Storybook we have extensive add-on ecosystem which support a wide range of tools for accessibility, testing, and documentation and more. With and design, we have limited ecosystem which is primarily focused on the design system and uh, and the components that it provides. So Semantic UI again has limited third party plugins. Blueprint has some limited add-ons, but the focus is more on the core functionality of the enterprises use case. And again, Patternfly, it's the same. Community and support. We went through the community ecosystem of Storybook as it has large and active community, whereas Ant Design, Semantic UI has have also large community but are mostly focused on their particular frameworks, that is React and the HTML, CSS. So Blueprint and Patternfly, we have a growing community yet, and also they are focused on enterprise based and data rich applications. The last one is customization. High level of customization is provided by Storybook, which allows developers to build their components and tailor the development environment completely. With Ant Design, Semantic UI, and the rest, we have moderate customization offered by them. So the customizations are basically they offer some pre-built components and a customizable theme for a particular enterprise application. So and also like they have some predefined structures, so they completely don't allow us customization. Next, we'll go through the core concepts of Storybook. So the first one is stories. So in Storybook, stories are the fundamental units basically that different that represent different states of or variations of a UI component. So each story showcases a specific instance of a component, and this story allows us to see how it behaves under various conditions, such as when we uh, pass in different inputs or maintain different states or themes. Next is components. So components are the building blocks of modern UIs, and Storybook is designed, to help us manage them effectively. Storybook decorators. Decorators in Storybook allow you to uh, wrap stories in additional layers, such as some context providers or any styling frameworks, be it. So this is particularly useful for applying global settings, themes, and or mocking data across all stories. So this making so this like feature like decorators makes our Storybook environment more flexible and interactive on the same time. So the fourth one is add-ons. So Storybook's ecosystem includes a wide range of add-ons that we already discussed in a brief, but we'll go through it in depth as well in the next few slides. The next one is CSF, that is component story format. Component story format is the standard format for writing stories in Storybook. It is simple and easy to read syntax, basically that that makes the stories and helps us managing those stories straightforward. So CSF ensures that our stories are basically structured in consistent manner, and it provides us maintainability and collaboration with our team. Storybook docs. Storybook docs are automatically generated documentation for our UI components based on the stories that we have created. So It provides a live and interactive interface where team members can view any different component usage by altering the props and variations. So this makes a storybook a valuable tool for both developers and designers as well, to understand and use the components effectively. Next, we'll quickly like understand what are the installation steps. We'll understand more of it in the demo, but I'll just quickly go through it. So the basic requirements for installing Storybook at any of the projects are like you will be needing Node.js version 16 or greater and npm version 7 or greater. So the demo will be for a React application. So basically, the first two steps are for creating a React application, and so the command npx-p at the red storybook slash cli sb init does the magic work of creating a storybook project. Integrate storybook basically in your project. So this will create a initial configuration. So next we'll go through it. What is the initial configuration of it? So storybook adds a dot storybook directory directly to your project. So this directory contains the main configuration files. So basically there are three. First is the main.js. So the main.js basically defines the main configuration at the name suggests. So it includes the location of the stories where the stories are basically present, some add-on definitions, and also the webpack settings. Next one is the preview.js. It handles the decorators that we discussed that are used to globally style the stories, and also all the css imports that you want to apply to your stories are done here. Manager.js, it allows us customization for the storybook playground that you will be seeing in the next few minutes. So next we'll deep dive into like what are storybook add-ons. So storybooks flexibility is significantly enhanced by providing, as it provides a wide range of add-ons. So the first one is add-on actions. This add-on allows us to log actions that occur in our components. The actions can be like button clicks or form submissions. So it's particularly useful for testing event and understanding how users will interact with your UI elements. Second is add-on links. Add-on links enables you to link stories throughout and together. So also this links can link different stories, whether you have created on a particular environment or such. So basically you don't need to run on an application to link them. You can directly use the add-on links to link different stories on the playground itself. So basically this is helpful for visualizing user flows and ensuring that transition between components work smoothly. Add-on knobs. So with add-on knobs, you can dynamically edit props of your components within the storybook UI. This interactive feature basically will allow you to experiment with different inputs in real time. Add-on A11Y, as the name suggests, it is the accessibility add-on. Nowadays accessibility is very crucial for modern web development, and add-on A11Y helps you ensure that your components meet accessibility standards. It scans your components that you have created for some common accessibility issues, and provides feedback directly within the storybook interface itself. So you don't have to install any third party plugins or extensions to check whether the components are meeting the accessibility standards. You can directly see them in your storybook UI. Add-on viewport. So this add-on allows us to preview our components in different screen sizes, and it is essential for responsive design testing, and it enables us to see how your components adapt to various devices and resolutions, so that you can be sure of the responsiveness. Add-on story shots. Add-on story shots generate snapshots of your stories in real time. This allows you to basically, the snapshot testing is done by the frameworks like Jest, and This allows us to catch visual regressions and ensure that your UI components remain consistent over time. Add-on background. So with add-on backgrounds, you can change the background color of your stories, or even replace it with the images. So this helps us to test our components, you know, to test whether how the components that we have created look against different backgrounds and images. So this is particularly useful for the components that will be used in various design contexts or themes. So these were the few examples of how Storybook can be customized. So there are a lot more which you can go through when you work on it. So this makes it very powerful for developing and documenting. So next we'll understand the deploying process of Storybook. So deploying Storybook, I understand, is a very crucial step in making your component library accessible to the entire team and stakeholders, or even in the public. So by deploying Storybook, you can create a shared resource that everyone can access and interact with. So there are multiple solutions which by which you can go with. The first one is static build generation. Storybook can be built into a static site, which means that it generates a collection of HTML, CSS, and JS files that represent your component library. So the static build can easily be hosted on any web server, and this makes it pretty straightforward way to deploy Storybook. Second is deploying on GitHub pages. As we know that GitHub pages is a free and popular choice for hosting static websites, so you can deploy a Storybook there as well. And this method is ideal for projects already hosted on GitHub. So yeah. So the third one is Versal integration. Versal offers as an easy and fast way to deploying Storybook with some automatic optimizations in performances as well. So by connecting your repository to Versal, you can deploy a Storybook within just few clicks, making it accessible online with any custom domain or Versal provided URL you want. Fourth one is Netlify hosting. Netlify is also another popular platform for deploying static sites, and it works well with Storybook. So with Netlify, you can set up a continuous CI/CD that every time you push changes to your repository, your Storybook is automatically rebuilt and deployed. So this way, you are ensured that it is up to date always. The last one is CI/CD integration. So for larger teams or more complex projects, so integrating Storybook deployment into your CI/CD pipeline ensures that your component library is always available and updated with the latest changes. So this approach automates the deployment process, and which reduces manual effort. So these were the some of the ways that you can deploy Storybook, and this basically will enhance the collaboration, and will also serve as a live interactive documentation hub for your UI components that can be accessible through the entire team. So next, I would pass on to Anish to give the demo. Over to you, Anish.
Thank you, Sahil, for such a wonderful explanation. So before going to code demo, do you guys have any questions so far in that you haven't understand or you want to ask or clarify? So please drop it in the Q&A session. We'll wait for a few minutes.
Maybe for the next 2 minutes, we'll just directly take your questions here. You don't need to drop in the chat. You can directly unmute and ask if you want. If no, then we can proceed with the code demo. Okay, Anish, I guess you can proceed.
Yes. Thank you. So after creating your project and running the command for installing Storybook in your project, so this is the dot storybook folder that will get created automatically by the storybook, and it contains our two file main.js and preview.js. So what are the significance of this file? So main.js is it behaves and works as a entry point for your project to see your stories and all those things. So what all things you can mention in your main.js file and configure over here is, first thing is how you can tell storybook how can it identify your file, stories file in which you have created your stories. So basically you can give a regex over here which will say currently it is in src folder. The files that ends with dot stories and dot with this extension, it will consider them as stories files, and look for them whenever you run the command npm run storybook. And then also you have option to add the add-ons that Sahil mentioned that you can add in your storybook. So by default there are some add-ons that you get when you install storybook, and any custom add-ons that you want to add, you can add it inside this section. Then you can also in framework you can also mention the frameworks that you want to support. If you have if store for some reason storybook is not working with your project, you can add it over here. And also you can add the TypeScript when using TypeScript project. If you want to add any TypeScript specific configuration or Babel configuration, you can also add it in the main JS file. Then the other file is preview.js. So this is also configuration file which provides you a broader configuration options. So anything that you want to do with stories globally, like add, you want to configure, I mean in add-ons, if you want to configure anything extra, so you can add it over here. Then if you want to add any providers or any webpack related settings, you can also add those in over in this files. So as you can see, we have added one custom option for a viewport add-on that we have added in our story that I will show you when we will go to the storybook playground. And yeah, so similarly for other add-ons also, if you want to add anything extra, you can add in your preview.js file. And then inside your source folder, initially it creates a stories uh, folder which has basically it gives you two sample stories that you can check on and how it works. Plus for your components, this is our stories file. So this is our button component, and for that component we have created this story basically. So this is how you can create a story for your component by mentioning uh, I mean, we have mentioned in our main.js file that look for stories.js. So you can create a file with extension story.js and will consider as a story. Inside the story, this is the default configuration, default export. Inside this, the title that you give it specifies the first I mean, the hierarchy that you want to create in your storybook playground, you can create it from this file. So, I mean, different directories. Inside different directories, you want to show your component. So, how it will look, I will show you in few minutes. So, you can do that over here. Then the component name, then parameters that you want to pass, then the tags, then argument types, the argument that you want to pass to your story, you can pass it over there. Then primarily you can also pass the variant primary arguments like variants and children's here. Then secondary arguments you can give it. So these are basically our um, different variants that we have created for buttons. So you can mention, I mean, for a single button, we use reusable component and apply variants to it to show it in different manner. So this way you can mention your variants if you are creating any. And this is how you render your story, uh, render your component in the storybook. Then after you have, I have already done that. So to run your storybook, you have to run the command npm run storybook. So that will take you to this section, which is, we call it the playground for our storybook, and this contains our components. So you can see we have mentioned our button story as component slash button. So in it has automatically created a component directory, and inside component directory you can see the button story over here. Same goes for form. So for showing you how to you can create different stories and combine it, we have created a patient onboarding form at how it will look, and I will show you in few minutes. So if you go inside the button story, so initially you can see the doc that has been created automatically by our storybook, which has your initial component, the primary version of it. Then it has a list of all the parameters that you have mentioned in your story that you can pass to your component. Then these are the variants that you have mentioned in your story, how it will look. It shows you, it creates a doc for you, so it is easier to visualize how you can, how does your different variants look. And here also you can see the source code for your components that you have created, so it is easier for sharing your components inside your team, and like that also. Then these are the variants that we have mentioned, and so it has uh, a separate uh, window for all your variants. So inside this, we have some options over here. So first is the controls. So controls are basically the parameters that you have mentioned for your button, and you can change it here and see how it will behave. Then other is the action add-on that Sahil mentioned. So in here, the on-click events or whatever actions you have added to your component, you can see them over here when you have when you trigger your component, that it is a on-click event that is getting triggered over here. Then the visual test. So this add-on has also explained by the Sahil. Then the main is add-on is like the accessibility add-on A11Y, which Sahil explains. So which runs your component through a basic set of parameter that are predefined in that add-on, and it gives you a result of it over here, that how many checks are passed and how many checks are failed, on how many checks are incomplete. So basically it gives you uh, better clarity about your component, that it is accessible in your application or not. Then the other add-on was the viewport add-on that we mentioned. So this is your viewport add-on. So viewport is basically gives you option to render your component in different screen resolution according to your so basically nowadays we create all responsive view websites, which we also can see inside our mobiles, so they are not restricted only for computers. So if you want to see for different mobile devices, so these are the default options that we get, and this one is the custom option that we have added inside our preview.js file. So like this, if you want to add custom screen sizes that are not present over here, you can add it in your preview.js file. So yes, so this Then you can also you have also like themes for it, dark theme and light theme, and you can visualize how it will, because we have right now we have options to convert our mobiles or our browsers into light theme and dark theme, so we also need that visualization. We have different options over here, many more. You can add it and as a form of add-on and customize your storybook the way you want to, according to your requirement and your project specification. So these are also some of the other story components that we have created. Then so combining this all these components in one component, we have created this patient onboarding form. So this is how you can visualize by creating your main component, that the reusable component that you have created, you can add it in your component and see how it will look, how it will behave. So you can also interact with it here. So this is the doc for it. Then on submit, if you have added any validation, you can also see it over here that if they are getting applied properly or not. Then also you also have the similar way the for other uh, here you have the controls and parameters. Here we haven't added any controls to this, so you also can add any extra parameters that you are sending. uh, you can test your component, how it will look, that if it will work fine in your project without even running your project or adding any states or getting any errors that you need to add these dependencies or whatever that we face right now. So this way it gives you isolated um, isolated playground where we can visualize your component. So yes, that's it with the demo. So any questions regarding the demo or anything that you guys want to ask? I guess not. So we'll go back to the presentation. So we have seen the demo. Now we will see what are the future developments that can be done with the storybook community and all those things, the challenges that we have that we can that could be overcome in the future. So first in the future is like expanding framework support. So currently it has a wide framework support, but it doesn't support all the frameworks that are available for the web design. So we can I mean community is working on that so that it will be increased for all the frameworks, so making it available for all type of frameworks that we have available for our web design. Then enhance collaboration tools, so creating some collaboration tools that will allow, as it is a open source thing and we have an open community, so we and they are working on adding the collaboration tools that will help developers to interact with each other over there if you are then facing any issues, anything like that. Then advanced testing capability, so whatever we have currently, if I mean those are some basic testings that you can do with your components. So if you want to do advanced testing, API calls and all those things, then that can also be they are also working on that. Then integrating with modern design systems, the modern design tools that we have, modern design libraries like MUI and all those things. So compatibility with those is also, they are also working on improving that. Then performance of optimization, so we'll see this in challenges, what is this point. But to make it feasible with larger projects, there is also some work needed over there, as it gives some issues in with larger projects. Then also AI and automation features. So today is we know that it is a AI and automation era. So we can add some AI tools over there that will create your UIs automatically or your stories automatically. so that way it will be more easier and less time consuming to create all these stories and documentation. Then broader community contribution, yes, we are, I mean, they are working on adding more and more developers to the community and making it open source and taking feedbacks from developers and adding any future features, any suggestions that other developers have. Then next we will see the challenges and limitation. As we know, nothing is perfect, so everything has its challenges and limitation. So first challenge that we have with Storybook is a learning curve. As you can see, it is a um, uh, broader library or UI tool, I would say, that needs more time and for new user to learn it, get a hands-on on it, know its the all the future features that are available, all the add-ons. To get a very brief idea about Storybook, it needs more time, so it has a steep learning curve. Then performance issue. So basically, currently the Storybook is now compatible with smaller projects. It works fine. So I mean, with larger projects, I wouldn't say it is not compatible. It is compatible. It works fine, but it gives you a laggy kind of experience. It works slow. The response time is more. So that is the main performance issue that it has currently. Then framework specific limitation. So the add-ons or any extra features that we have, it has some limitations with some frameworks, that all not all the features and add-ons are compatible with all the uh, frameworks that Storybook currently supports. So that is also a limitation that we have. Then customize overhead. So if you want a full customization of your component, I mean everything you want to test, how it will look, how it will behave, a full customization overhead. So it takes more time to make it fully customizable. That's the only limitation, that it is time consuming process making it customizable, that your product, I mean all the parameters, all the props you want to test, so it is more time consuming. Then integration complexity. So same thing, I would say in integration complexities, like it has some limitation with framework specific add-ons. So it has that integration complexity with some frameworks that are available over there. Then dependency management. As we know, we get whatever technology we are using, we get, I mean, in roughly in every 3 months or 4 months, 5 months period, we get a new version of that framework that you are using. So making it compatible while upgrading your project to a newer version. So making it compatible, managing those dependency tree. So it is a bit complex and it might not work in every with every newer version. So that's the limitation. And other than then same scalability concern that I have told you in performance, in similar thing is there in scalability concern, at that with larger project with more customization, it is bit laggy. So it has that scalability issue that you cannot scale it as much for each and every UI component that you are using. So yes, so these are some challenges and limitations that we have with the storybooks. Then, with all this, I would like to conclude our session. So, while concluding, I will like to address that Storybook is a vital tool for modern UI development. It is a essential tool that we can use. I mean, if you want to uh, maintain a proper documentation of your project and you want to see how your components will look without running your application, you want isolated component library documentation, then you can use a Storybook. Then it promotes collaboration, ensures design consistency, and support wide range of frameworks and add-ons. And there are some wild challenges such as learning curve that I have also mentioned in challenge and limitation. So it does have some challenges and limitation, but the community is working on it, overcoming that challenges and those limitations. So we can say in few coming years it will be more compatible and it will have less challenges. Then as Storybook continues to evolve, it will remain a key player in your key player in the toolkit design and high quality user interface that you want to design as our web design is getting modernized. So Storybook will also play a key role in there. So yes, so that's it. So before going to quiz, we will also like to introduce code grip. So basic code grip is basically a code analysis tool developed by Mind Browser that you can use in your project to maintain sanity and see follow good coding practices on in your project. Gives you code smells and duplicate a code if you are doing. So it helps you maintain a clean project and clean code in your project and follow a proper coding practices that we have standard coding practices to make your uh, code more readable and clean for other users that are working on your projects. So yes, these are some current openings that we have in our organization. You can check it in on our website and apply for it or refer anyone if anyone have any requirements. Yes, and thank you everyone for taking out a time from your busy schedule and attending our session. Thank you so much. And if you, currently nobody asked any question. I guess we explained it very much nicely. So if you have any questions or while working on Storybook, if you get any difficulties, feel free to contact us. These are our emails. And yes, thank you guys.